everyone, and Happy New Year to you all. Welcome to Life Mastery TV, your source for inspiration, empowerment, and fulfillment. My name is David McLeod. I am your Life Mastery coach and the author of the book, A Life to Die For. And we're here today, starting the new year with episode number 165, which I'm calling Release to Receive. Now, I got that question for you. Have you ever found yourself holding on to something energetically? A hope, a belief, an expectation, or even a grudge, only to discover that shortly after you released it, something wonderful showed up in your life. What showed up may have been a fulfillment of something that you desired, but often the energetic shift is enough to open space for almost anything that is considered desirable or valuable. I suspect this sort of thing happens to almost everyone, at least once or twice in their life. Whatever we hold on to in the name of satisfying an ego mind position actually requires a lot of energy. In fact, so much focus and energy that we unconsciously inhibit the flow of whatever the universe is trying to bring into our lives. Stranger still, we seem to fall into this pattern over and over again, at least until we learn to tame our ego mind and surrender all our compulsions and addictions to spirit. Today, I have invited an amazing motivational public figure who has inspired hundreds of thousands of people on her Facebook page, Circles of Inspiration. But I think one of her greatest achievements and one of her greatest gifts to the world is the organization she created a number of years ago, the Wellness Universe, part of what we're on today, this platform. And it's the world's first one-stop online directory and resource center to support and promote whole health and well-being on a global scale. So in all her work, this incredible lady promotes and encourages empowerment, authenticity, and attachment to spirituality as core building blocks to achieve anything you dream. So please join me in welcoming the amazing and delightful Anna Pereira back to our show at Life Mastery TV. Hi there, Anna. Thank you so much for joining us today. You're muted at the moment. Okay, there you go.
There we are. Thank you. It's so good to see you. Thanks for inviting me back. Hi, everybody.
Oh, and let me just say to everybody who we've had a few people join us just at the last minute here. That's awesome to see you all join us. And please, if you feel like communicating with us, do so by writing in the chat. And in fact, why don't we start? Everybody, just tell us your name and where you are in the country or in the world right now. We'd like to hear that. And meanwhile, Anna, I really like the title that we chose for today's presentation, Release to Receive. It seems like a really powerful topic and something that seems very relevant, especially the way things have been going in the last year and how we seem to be moving forward in the new year. What does that term mean to you, and how do you think we can proceed?
Do you mean release to receive? Like, what does it mean to me?
How did you come to that terminology, and what made you come up with that title?
Well, to be honest with you, my story that I'm going to share later on how I manifested beyond my dream life. But it was strange because back then, when I did whatever it was to release what I released in order to receive what I have now, and it keeps building and building in a positive way, I didn't know what I did was created a vacuum. And the universe hates vacuums. And as soon as you create a vacuum, it wants to plug it up with something. And as long as you have everything there, the good intention around it, it's going to plug it up with something good. So that's what this is about, releasing to receive something. Because as soon as you go Christmas shopping at the mall, a car pulls out of a parking spot, another car dips into that parking spot, right? So the universe is the same way. So you have to release something in order to get something you want, but you have to know that, what those things are.
Yeah, I think that's an important distinction. Releasing anything that might be blocking you right now so that you can invite in and welcome in something that might be really important for your life.
Mm-hmm.
Hi there, Eileen. Welcome to the show. Good to see you here. And hello, Ali, Karen, Sarah from England. It's always great to have Sarah here. She's one of my greatest followers. I love Sarah. Doreen from Manitoba. Eileen also, from Northern California. And Marion from Pittsburgh. Jenny, you're up in Vancouver. Great. And Carol from the UK. So we've got a couple of people from the UK. That's awesome. So it's great, isn't it, Adam? We've got people from basically all over the world who come and join us here. And I think that's what the beauty of the Wellness Universe is. And I'm glad you chose that name with the word universe in it, because it really does imply an inclusiveness and a welcoming of people from everywhere, all over the world, maybe not even this planet. Who knows?
Thanks, David.
And it's a fabulous organization. For those of you who are watching the show and you maybe don't know, the Wellness Universe is a place for people who are healers and gurus and teachers and yogis and you name it. It's a wonderful place. So you can share your message with other people, and you can find healers that might be just the right person to support you. And this is one of those places where you get to release and then receive the gifts that come to you. So it's beautiful. So
thank you.
Yeah, Anna, you were talking about the universe abhors a vacuum, and I think there's some truth to that. I have a slightly different perspective, but I'd like to understand more about your understanding of that. When you create space, you allow something to come in. If you do it with intention, then what comes in, I think, is going to be something that serves your growth and your expansion and your evolution. If you don't do it with intention, then who knows? Chaos can ensue. Is that your experience?
I think intention is great, but we have to clarify whether it's intention with like a desire or a need from a neediness or from a want,
right? Mm-hmm.
Or an intention for your highest good, to serve your highest good. Right. And I think that that's really one of the reasons why I was able to manifest my life, because I had to be in that head and heart space, more than anything, your heart space, and be very clear on what I wanted that was going to serve me and my greatest good. Because when I asked that and the universe heard that, it said, okay, you're ready now. Maybe at another point in my life, I wasn't ready for it, or maybe I didn't ask in a certain way. It's like you have to be, and some people say you have to be very, very specific to manifest, or very, very, you have to be super specific. I kind of was specific yet broad, because I knew enough that I didn't know enough. I knew enough of the fact that I was not aware of how amazing life can be, because I did not experience life yet. I'm almost talking like our friend, Mr. Jim Phillips, as I'm speaking. I didn't experience it yet to know the experience was going to be good for me. And I at least knew that.
Right. Well, what's interesting about that is I think almost everything that has shown up in my life has been in one way or another of benefit to me into my growth. Even those things that at the time of the experience seemed very unpleasant. And of course, at the time when it was happening, I probably wouldn't have said, oh, this is just the universe providing something I need for my growth. Of course, I probably wasn't that elevated at the time to do it. But I do believe in retrospect, when I look back at the entire timeline of my life, almost everything that's happened has served a purpose. Mm-hmm. Which really means, in my view, that on some level I was attracting that into my life, probably on a spiritual soul level, even though my ego mind didn't want it necessarily, or wanted something else, or it thought it did. That's been my experience. Does that resonate for you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I had a lot of crap that I attracted for a long time, which allowed me to come to that conclusion where I was just like, I had to release all of this, my thinking, my judgment of myself, my judgment of others, all of that, and really get like vulnerable, cut through the crap, get real, and therefore attract what was for my highest good once it was recognized by the universe, by God, by whoever was watching over me, and helped deliver, those things into my life.
Right, right. Yeah, that's beautiful. And I noticed we've got Eileen talking about a want, and Ricky asking about a burning desire. And this is interesting because I've actually been planning a podcast episode on this very topic. It wasn't really meant to be about release to receive. It was more about this what I call degrees of desire. And so this is something that I find interesting. When I'm just in a place and I notice that I have a desire for something, there's not really a lot of energy around it. It's just, yeah, that would be nice to have in my life. And then I can, when there's no energy associated with it, I can actually sit and meditate on it and let my soul decide if that's something that I really want. But when my ego mind starts to get too attached to that desire, that thing that started out with such gentle, loving energy, then it turns into a want. I've discovered, this is my level. And if I don't fulfill that want, then I start creating this idea in my head that I need it. And then if I actually don't get it, then I'm starting to get compulsive about trying to find it. So this is the ego mind attitude towards desires, I think. But when I let my soul, my heart speak about it, it's a very gentle energy that just helps to kind of point me in a particular direction and say, this would be good for your life. That's how I view it. Does that kind of, do you resonate with that?
I love what you were saying, David, because honestly, stop the feedback. I felt it in my heart when you were describing this, because a desire, and it's hard when we're motivated people to clarify our desires that lead to wants, that lead to needs, as opposed to something that would really benefit our highest and greatest good, which is actually channeled to us through love and through the heart space, which is what basically you were saying. Yeah. And that gentle journey towards something that's going to make you, love the experience, love your life, love whatever it is that you're doing, as opposed to a desire created from the way we perceive the experience is going to come about from engaging in whatever it is that we think is amazing. Yeah. And then, because it's preconceived, it's based on our judgment, it's based on what we think, and also what we perceive from what's been shown to us. And we know through social media and everything else, what's always shown to us is not the reality. So now you're creating a desire, a want, and then a need, and perhaps a compulsion or an obsession or anything else, all the way down that line. And it gets so far pushed to the side to come back to center, to get to your heart space so you can have your life unfold. It really takes a lot. And that's the journey that I was at. I really was I was far over to that side of the dial. And then it took a lot for me to get to that heart space. But it's almost like somebody took something and pulled me back to center. And, and I got there so I could experience the life that I wanted that was serving my highest and greatest good.
Right. And yeah, that's a very nice encapsulation, I think, of the whole process. But I think you're right. I think that, this whole notion of degrees of desire, something that's just been up for me lately is, if we take it far enough, then we can even move into the level of expectation and eventually even addiction. Addiction is like at the extreme end of it, where I absolutely have to have that thing that gives me this pleasure that I think is somehow good for me. And yeah, it's beautiful. And I noticed, Ricky, you mentioned something about this idea of the burning desire. That's an interesting one to me. I think of, there's this other term that we also use sometimes, heart's desire. And maybe that's the same thing that you're talking about. I don't know. But when it's coming from my heart, I'm much more willing to follow it. When it's coming from my head, I try to at least, okay, what is it that I'm trying to figure out with my head? And is that really truly in the best interest of my personal growth and so forth? Anna, you said you had a story you wanted to share around this. You want to I know you've been kind of dipping into it here and there. Is there a specific story you want to share?
Well, only to prove what we're talking about to be truth and to be proven, because you and I know, David, a lot of people speak theory and they speak ideas and they speak belief systems and they speak processes and they speak sharing stories of others so they can practice something, but they really didn't experience it themselves yet. Right? They didn't master it themselves, or they didn't go through the process themselves, and they're not the result of what they're talking about. So that's why I feel that it's really important that my story backs up that you have to release in order to receive.
Okay, so
and
more about the story then.
So as you know, we're working on this happiness book now, and it's going to be published. I actually shared this as the introduction to the book because I felt it was so important, because this is really what led to my happiness. So one day back in 2009, at the very beginning of the year, I don't know what possessed me, because it's not like any event happened specifically then, but it was like a colossal, a colossal topple of my life. I mean, I had it. I was single. I was like 35, I think, 35 or 36, 35. I was single. I couldn't meet the right guy. I couldn't have, a great relationship that was like perfect in my eyes, or, just perfect enough. But then I would sabotage myself. And work, I had my own business. Things weren't really working out. And I would sabotage myself because I had such a high expectation for myself and for people around me that it's like I own my own house, and it's like if I met the right guy and they had their own house, like whose house are we going to sell? And I would start building these walls around my dreams, and they would be enclosed. And it was all based on judgment of them, being afraid that they're going to judge me, and me judging myself. So judgment played a big part. And when I realized I was actually having a conversation with this guy that I had met online, and he was a director in some company, some telecom company. And so I was telling him the story that I had my own clothing line, and he's like, so what did you do? Did you just sell it? And I was like, no. He's like, oh, you didn't sell it? And I was like, no, it just folded. That's sometimes what happens. So in that moment, it made me feel like, wow, like this guy is so close-minded and so arrogant that he can't even understand, or even, I wouldn't even want to share my journey, my personal journey with him on how hard it was to navigate having my own business, being an artist, financing it, running it, being creative daily to put out, a season of designs and everything else, which you already know I had the clothing line. And I was like, wow, what a jerk. Like, what a jerk this guy is. How he made me feel. He made me feel this small. And I put my everything, my passion, my heart into my business, and it failed. It didn't, it couldn't swim. It sank, period, end of story. And I realized I'm not going to let anyone make me feel like that ever again. So having someone judge me, get to me, or even think that, someone to attract someone that's going to judge me, that was out of the equation. Judging myself, because I knew how far I'd come. I knew what I did, and I knew myself as a person. I've always been the best person I could be. So I'm not going to allow anybody to judge me. And then I'm also going to not judge other people. I have to stop judging other people. And in my story in the book, I shared that when I first came across my husband, I almost didn't even date him because I was anti-Portuguese. I'm Portuguese, by the way, but I didn't have the greatest relationship with my dad. So I always said, oh, no Portuguese for me. And so I had to give that up too, because I couldn't judge anyone else. So one day at the beginning of 2009, I have a little Cape Cod in New Jersey, and I was standing at the top of my landing on the second floor, and I don't know what came over me, but I literally was like, God, the universe, Saint Rita, all the saints, everyone who's watching over me, you know, my ancestors. I'm like, please, I'm like, just bring me someone who will allow me to live my happiness and who I'll make beautiful babies with. It was that broad, but that's specific because I knew, like, and those words literally were channeled to me because it had to be that. It had to be, I just want to live my happiness. I'm so unhappy right now. I'm so on my knees. And there's more to that story, which is in the book, in the intro of the book. But literally, I really gave it up and gave it over. Like when you sell a car and somebody drives off with your first car, you have to say goodbye to it. I literally said goodbye to being judged, to judging others, and to fearing the judgment of others, and to be really ready to accept the blessings that I was asking for, because this is the other thing too. You know, you hear the stories about people hitting the lottery and then they're completely broke in like a year.
Right.
Because they're not ready. They can't handle it. They don't know what to do. They're not prepared. I was basically declaring that I am prepared for this. Please, I am so ready for this, and I promise that if you gift me this blessing, that I will not screw it up. And so it was the real rock solid intention behind the ask and making that declaration to the universe that I was ready and I was giving up the judgment and what I really wanted out of life. And at that moment, I knew that someone heard me. It took a while. It doesn't happen overnight. It's like water doesn't boil instantly, even in the microwave, okay? You still gotta wait a few seconds. And I held on, and I was still pushed to my knees that year. I was still pushed to my knees, and there's more details again in the book. And it was hard. It was hard to cling to that hope and to that, but I know it's coming. I know it's coming. And then staying with that, believing in that, and never giving up, and being laser focused on being delivered what you want and really being intentional. I met Hugo on October 26th at our first date, and we were married on December 23rd, not even 8 weeks later. And here we are 11 years later. I live in 2 countries. I travel the world. I have my own company, as you know, the Wellness Universe. So I'm telling you that there is so much more out there for us to experience than what we can even possibly understand that could make us happy if we allow it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for sharing that. It's beautiful to see your heart. It's always a joy for me to see your heart. And I'm sure other people enjoy seeing that too. It's what really, I believe, that's where your light is. And as you were speaking, I could just see you lighting up and getting brighter and brighter. It's beautiful to watch. So thank you for that. And yeah, I think what I can say, I believe everybody has the opportunity to do something like that if they choose to. And we can all benefit from your experience, even though our circumstances might not be exactly the same. We can relate. You know, we can map a certain set of circumstances onto your circumstances and say, oh, I see. If so, Anna had this happening, I could make this. I should bring my hands together. I can make this happen over here, and I can maybe map this thing to there, and this thing to there, and this over thing to there. Now I can see the relationship. And so if I can learn to, first of all, accept my relationship with what is right now, just accept it. This is what it is. Don't judge it. Don't, if you can accept it for what it is, then you can be in a position of saying, all right, this is what it is. Is this what I want to continue having in my life? Mm-hmm. And now you can say, no, I think I want to change a few things. And that's where the attention can start coming from. So you first have to be aware, and then you have to accept it. This is what I teach all the time. So, Ricky, let's see. Yes, Anna, that happened to me when I opened my heart and asked for my perfect companion, and I met Richard. Well, we've met Richard too. He's a pretty amazing guy.
Richard.
How are you, Ricky? It felt vulnerable, but also a relief to let go of the judgments and let it be. Pardon me. That's a beautiful place to be. And by the way, I think that this notion of releasing doesn't just have to be about releasing to open space to allow something to come in. Sometimes release can have something to do with, what am I holding on to that's really keeping me depressed or down or unhappy? And I've had a few instances like that in my life where I allowed people who had done things to me. I had allowed myself to get attached to my ideas of revenge or getting even or whatever, and I was holding on to that. I was judging them harshly, and I was what I needed to do in the long run. And I discovered this the hard way. I had to forgive them. And so I had to learn about forgiveness and about the fact that forgiving someone doesn't mean that you absolve them of any responsibility for anything they did. It just simply means that you are removing your attachment to any specific outcome. The moment you do that, guess what? This is exactly what Anna was talking about at the beginning. You open space for something beautiful to come back.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Judgment and expectations will kill you. It will kill your joy. It'll kill your happiness. It doesn't even just mask love. It makes love turn on its back. Like they're the worst things that you can have to keep you from happiness.
Right. And they are products of the ego mind. And this is something that we need to understand. This is what I try to tell people. I mean, your ego mind can support you as a co-pilot or as a navigator, but when you let the ego mind run the show, look out, baby. Shit is going to hit the fan and chaos is going to follow. I know this from plenty of personal experience. So, yeah, it's something that we all have to learn. And I don't say, some gurus say you gotta completely get rid of the ego. No, I don't believe that's the right thing to do. Not if you want to continue living on this physical planet. But I do think you need to learn to tame the ego and let the soul come back in charge of the whole planet. And so then the two can work together side by side and support a positive experience in the physical life as well as the spiritual life.
Agreed, David. I think honestly, it's almost like the ego is a tiger on a leash, and who holds the leash is love.
That's right. That's right. I like that. That's a beautiful image. I hadn't heard of that before. I hope you do a meme about that. A tiger on a leash. That would be awesome. Yeah. No, all of this stuff is just beautiful. And so now let's get into the next topic, which is really about, all right, what does release mean? What does that actually mean? What does it mean for you, Anna?
To honestly just completely detach from it, to let it go. I think I described it as if I slungshot something out the window when this happened, when I actually did this. It was like I slungshot it out the window.
Tossing your baggage out the window or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I slungshot it out the window. It wasn't just like oh, here you go. It's like, it's like, out, go. I don't want to know you anymore, But I think when you truly and authentically release something, you feel it in your heart. You feel it in your gut. You will feel it physically if you tune in. And there's so many things that we can do to release. There's visualization, there's tapping, there's, all these different modalities that all of us teach on how to cut cords, release, give it back to Mother Earth, however you want to describe it, but it has to come out. And if it's emotional connections, spiritual connections, beliefs, whatever it is, and this is the thing too, there's different levels of what you're holding on to and how you're holding on to it. Traumas, some stuff was never even yours to begin with, and you're holding on to it. But the awareness around what it is, because that's what it was. That day when I realized it was about judgment and expectations, that's those things that were holding me back. And I identified those, and those were the two things that I said, I'm done with these things in my life right now. They're not working for me anymore, and again, they weren't getting me what I wanted. I thought by being judgmental or wanting something a certain way, because I had something a certain way and and that's what I wanted. But no, I had to be like, no, I just have to be me. And I have to hope that what's in my best and greatest good will show up if I'm being me, not wanting, desiring, trying to coax it into my life, but identifying what it is that you need to release, I think, is important. So whether you use a coach or a guide or a mentor like you, David, or any of the members of the Wellness Universe, if you can't figure it out for yourself, I find it the biggest blessing was that I realized what I needed to remove from my life. That was the greatest blessing, because I already knew I was unhappy. To ask for that was easy. The ask is easy. The release is the hard. The identification of what it is that you got to get rid of, that's the tough stuff. Right. And it's different for everybody. We don't know. Not all of us are tuned in to really, or that we really don't want to face what we need to release. So I think the awareness around what you need to release to create that vacuum, to create that space, to create that void, so something beautiful can enter. And it's not just the ask. The magic is in the awareness of what it is to release.
Yeah, and releasing is, I like to think of it as, the first time I jump out of an airplane with a parachute on. I'm hanging on with white knuckle grip on the side of the door, just not wanting to let go, but not realizing yet what my freedom is going to be like when I do release. Once you learn to let go of that, then you can experience the freedom that comes with that release. And, as long as you've got a parachute, then of course you can land around. Now, I've got a couple of comments here. First, I wanted to acknowledge Eileen, where she talks about if only more people knew this concept that you've shared. Once you stop judging yourself, you stop judging others, and they stop judging you. Mm-hmm. I think, the interesting thing about judgment, in my mind, I use the word judgment to describe any process where I am evaluating something and coming to a conclusion. Now, the judgment, the judgment is just a convenient word for that. Many people, unfortunately, think of judgment as I'm judging something harshly, or I'm judging a person, or I'm judgmental about people. That's how people interpret the word judgment. So I can understand that. So to me, you've got what is out there, and what is just simply what it is, right? Then you've got, how do I interpret it? And the way I like to describe this to people is, go look at some clouds and tell me how long it takes you before you start seeing images in the clouds. That is your mind trying to make sense of just water vapor. And your mind will do that constantly. It will not stop ever. So just be aware that that's what's going on. In a sense, the mind is judging the clouds. So that's how I make the distinction. If I can just simply be here and be present and be aware, the moment the story comes into my head, that's when the judgments are starting to show up. Mm-hmm. Until the story comes in, then I am just present. And now I can simply observe and be discerning. I can then, because I think, who was it? Karen mentioned the difference between discernment and judgment. Absolutely true. There's a big difference between them. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up as a comment. And what do you think about that?
No, I think that's absolutely true. And for me, I'm both sides of the brain, and I can be very analytical. And I think to judge something by analysis, with removing attachment is very important. Obviously, if there's a fire, am I going to stick my hand into? I'm going to make a decision based on a judgment. Is it going to burn me? But I think that the discernment is a better way to put it. But we do have to use weighing facts to make a conscious decision and an educated decision. Obviously we're purchasing two things, and one thing is marked $100 and the other thing is marked 10, and they're exactly the same thing. You got to use judgment there, so we get it. But I think when it comes to emotions or our selves, our spiritual selves, we definitely think of judgment, and we speak of judgment in the in the way that either that makes us a good person or a bad person. And then that sets us down the path, that's very bad.
Yeah. Something else that Eileen said that I just want to address. I have learned this for myself. Other people actually don't judge me as harshly as I think they do. This is actually a true statement, and the reason I know this is true, I was in Toastmasters for several years, and I used to, support people in becoming better speakers. And I would hear this often. I'm terrified to get up there and speak. And I said, "What are you afraid of?" And they said, "I'm just afraid of public speaking." And I said, "Is that really true? Are you really afraid of public speaking? Because you're talking to me right now. We're in public. You don't seem to have any problem with that." And they kind of look at me with the cockeyed look. "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Here's what I believe. I believe that you're actually afraid of the judgments people are going to have about you when you get up on stage. That's what I think you're afraid of." Now, while you're thinking about that, I want you to remember the last time you were sitting down in this chair watching someone up there speaking. How much judgment did you have of that person? And the answer usually is, well, actually not very much. Mostly I was just really marveling at their story and feeling inspired. And I said, "And what makes you think that they're not going to be inspired when you get up there?" People would just do a turnaround immediately. They might still be a little nervous, and people do make mistakes. They stumble over their words, whatever. That's okay. That's all part of being human. Get up there, have some fun, speak, tell your story, let people find out who you are. So this is what I learned is that most people aren't all that busy judging you. And the reason they're not busy judging you is because they're so busy judging themselves.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just wanted to put that out there and just remind people of that. I also want to acknowledge Renee. I want to say thank you for this comment. I just want to say that every single time I join these sessions, they are so precisely on point that I swear that you all live in my headspace, knowing what I need to receive in my eardrums, my heart right on time. Providence, divine guidance. Well, thank you for that, Renee. Would you mind copy and pasting that as a comment into our review when the show is all over? I mean, I'd love to receive that. It's beautiful to hear, and I think I resonate with that, Anna. When I come to these things, I may not always be arriving in a space where this is going to be the best for me, But the moment I just allow myself to be in beginner's mind, all of a sudden I get something that is a great gift. And it's part of that release to receive thing that we've been talking about.
And being two damn interesting people helps a little bit.
That's true. Yes, and completely humble people at that. That's the other thing.
Of course.
One of the things that I often say to people, I'll say I'm the humblest person I know, and I'm proud of it. Because I'm thinking that way, But I know you know what I mean when I say that, and I'm not saying it out of conceit. It's just that I've learned to be quite comfortable in myself and in my heart space, and so some people might be intimidated by that. And what is it that they're really intimidated about? Well, my belief is what they're intimidated about is allowing their own confidence and their own solid, beautiful light to be shining.
Well, that's what we're trying to help, right? We're trying to help everyone to shine their light and to get vulnerable and to be confident and comfortable with themselves. So,
yeah, and this is something that I think that another thing that people need to understand. Well, they don't need to, but I would encourage them to understand it. I remember one time I was really excited about something, and I was just having a blast at a dance party or something. And some guy came over to me later and he said, I like your energy, but can you tone it down a bit so there's room for us? And at the time, I didn't know how to respond. Today, I would have no problem saying to him, why don't you tune it up? Instead of judging me for being too bright for you, bring your light up.
I have a similar story. Can I share it?
Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. All right. So we know a lot of people in the room here. So everyone who knows me really well, or just perhaps catch me here and there, you know I love to laugh and I love to really enjoy life. So I was at a comedy club for New Year's one year with my best friend Jeannie and her sister Judy. We got there a little late. We were seated all the way in the back. It was the Stress Factory in New Brunswick, I think it was called. And they had these really great comedians on stage. I was laughing so loud. Now, me and my girlfriend Jeannie, we're loud as it is. So we were just laughing, but we were laughing in timing with the jokes. I mean, we weren't heckling, nothing like this. We were literally enjoying the show genuinely. Do you know? And it was like we were on the last row against the back, the furthest wall in the back. And then there was the pathway from the kitchen out through the rest of the place. And then there's the whole front seating and then the stage.
Yeah.
Somebody in the front of the railing had complained we were being too loud. How can you be too loud at a comedy club, laughing too loud? And we weren't even drunk. It was a really great time. And so the manager literally came up to us and said, "You guys are being a little loud. Can you tone it down?" In a comedy club. And I was like, "That's so funny." He's like, "No, seriously, the couple over there is complaining." I'm like, "Okay." So I'm like, maybe they need to learn how to have a little bit more humor.
They need to learn to laugh. Yeah. Yeah. Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
We cannot allow ourselves to be shut down. I mean, there's been enough of that in 2020. We don't need any more. We need to learn to shine, and we need to learn to stand up in the true power of who we really are. That's what I believe. It's very, very important for 2021. And I'm so glad we're talking about this topic, because in order to be able to step up and shine, we have to be able to release any of those stories or judgments we have about ourselves, that we shine too brightly, or that we laugh too loud, or that we do this or that or something in a way that somebody somewhere is going to find inappropriate. I guarantee you, no matter what you do, there's going to be someone out there who has a judgment about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So let them have their judgment. Maybe if you can release that, you give them the opportunity to have some growth.
Agreed.
So laugh too loud, shine too bright, be who you are. That's what I say to people.
That's what I say too.
Yeah.
My cat.
Jenny says, absolutely. What others think of us is none of our businesses. Yeah, that's a great line. I always love that. And it's true. It's true. You know, even if you tell me what you think of me, I don't care. I've got to that point in my life now. I don't care anymore. I love you, and I don't care what you think of me.
That's not totally true. I know you care what people think of you, of course, but I know what you mean.
I'm always open to feedback if it's delivered from the heart.
Yes.
And so this is very, very important. I mean, I don't think any of us can grow without some kind of feedback, right? But feedback that is delivered in the form of "you laugh too loud" isn't exactly feedback.
At a comedy club. It doesn't get worse than that. Like, really, it doesn't get worse than that. Yeah.
So that's what I think. You know, if I have feedback, my approach nowadays is to go to a person and say, "I actually have some feedback for you. Are you open to hearing it?" Because let's face it, not everybody wants to hear everything that comes out of my mouth. Surprise, surprise.
Shocking.
And so they might say no. Okay, thank you. I just want to let you know. So I, you know, when you offer feedback, offer it from the perspective of what is going on for you, right? When I offer you feedback, Anna, it's about me. It really isn't about you. So for example, I don't know, if I thought that you were laughing too loud, I might come up to you and say, "Anna has some feedback for you. Are you open to hearing it?" And if you said yes, I say, "I just noticed that when you laugh, I feel a lot of energy coming from you. And I am noticing myself feeling overpowered in some way by that energy. And I'm wanting to thank you for that loud laughter because it's allowed me to see something that I wasn't seeing before. Now that's, I believe, a mature way of offering feedback because I'm taking ownership of it and I'm noticing my own stuff that's going on. Because none of my feedback ever has anything to do with you. Even as a coach, I try to give people feedback by telling them what I'm observing and letting them decide what they want to do with that information. It's not really about saying, well, I mean, if I were I guess a dance coach or something, I might say, yeah, you got to move your left foot this way in order to accomplish this. You know, I might do those things, but what I do now, it's just not relevant. So let's talk more about this this notion of surrendering without giving up.
And that can be interpreted two ways.
Or at least.
Surrendering. Well, first of all, is everybody enjoying this conversation? I hope everybody's really enjoying this conversation.
We're getting a lot of interaction. I'd say yes, but that's my judgment.
It's your belief. So what was the question? Giving up without?
No, the idea of, so release and surrender have similar kind of meaning.
Yes.
But surrender also has the meaning of surrendering or capitulating to something else. And that's what I want to talk about. The idea that just because you surrender doesn't mean you're giving up.
Giving in. Yep. Giving up or giving in. Right. And that's the thing to really notice. It's when you give up something, for example, you give up chocolate cake to lose a few pounds. It's a good thing, you know? And I think that we need to understand it's not a weakness. The weakness is indulging in the chocolate cake, right? So, and I think that that's where we get caught up because it's, if I surrender to this, I'm giving up, I'm weak, but it's not, and you're not. And you have to know what's good for you. And sometimes you have to give up, even if it's, you know, giving up the race or giving up something that you have toiled at for so long. If it's killing your soul, if it's killing your spirit, if it's making you sick, you're not giving up anything that's of value. You're giving up, you're not, that's a value to you, your spirit, your soul, your health. You're giving up something so you get so much more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And actually, that's one of the reasons that I like the word release as opposed to the word surrender or give up. Give up kind of sounds like, and we're always told, never give up, you know, that's the kind of message that we get through whatever, all these motivational speakers. But release is something quite different because it requires a conscious effort. Well, not even necessarily an effort, a conscious movement. And this is why whenever I release something, I actually do something like that with my hand. I just kind of let it go. And I see my hand keeps disappearing off the side of the camera, but that's something that I do. And sometimes another great way to do a release is to write something down, what it is that you're releasing. And you're not releasing the chocolate cake. You're releasing the need to have chocolate cake 3 times a week or to have half a cake because you know that it's not healthy for you. You leave in the possibility that maybe a slice of chocolate cake every once in a while is okay, but I release my compulsion, my expectation to have it. So write that down. And then a lot of people like to do a burning bowl. You create a little bowl. You take your written down thing that you're trying to release, and you just hold it in consciousness, and you light a fire to it and say, "I release you." Just let the ash fall into the bowl.
Or the whole fire pit, as we did at Soul Treat.
Yeah, but not everybody has a fire pit. I'm just saying you can do it in a variety of ways. You know, so it's a beautiful thing. Yeah,
for sure.
We're getting lots of comments here today. This is fun. I'm getting way more comments than I usually get. But that's because Jenny's here. She's always full of something to say. And I like that.
We have some great engagers. We have Ricky and Jenny and Eileen,
Renee and
Christy,
Sarah.
Renee. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. I love and I appreciate your support and and David. This has just been awesome. So.
And I also want to say, those of you who are here and not necessarily members of the Wellness Universe, please consider joining. It's a really wonderful organization. Get yourself a Premium Plus membership so you get access to everything. And it's
if you're a practitioner of wellness,
that's true. Yeah.
But thank you.
Are you still doing that on the free, not on the free, on the basic membership? You have to be a practitioner as well?
Everybody who's listed in our community is somebody who makes the world a better place. And then if you're a seeker of well-being, you can join as a Woo friend. So then that way you're kept in the loop of, all the stuff that's happening.
So that answers Eileen's question. What? We can't join and get healed? Yes, of course you can. That's exactly what Anna was just talking about. You join as a Woo friend, and you get to connect with the people who are here as healers. Yeah. So let's move to the last subtopic that I wanted to get to, which is about invitation. When you want to release something, obviously you want to open space for something else that's going to be of benefit to you in your life, in your growth, in your expansion, and whatever. So you need to open an invitation for that purpose. How do you invite what you want into your life, Anna?
Like I said before, I think if you just make it like so basic, almost so childlike, and you just go back to basics. If you're hungry, an apple is something that comes from a tree, unadulterated. It's something that the earth has given us. You have to go back to basics. If you start slapping caramel on it and chocolate on it and M&Ms on it and everything, you turn it into something else that's not food anymore. So I think that your asks should really serve the basic needs of your existence, your soul's existence, your heart's existence, your emotional existence. In case something falls, my cat is going crazy, just so you know. But I think that, what are these things that we need? We need happiness. We need joy. We need fulfillment. We need to feel that we are operating in our purpose. These are the basic needs. And I think that when you invite something into your life, if you get so grandiose with your ask, it's so super specific. What if that doesn't even exist anymore? For example, you're asking for, a color TV set, a 35-inch tube TV set that doesn't exist anymore, right? So I'm just saying, oh yes, of course. But I mean, you have to really be basic, and it has to be serving your highest and greatest good, in my opinion. And that's how, to me, you formulate the ask. For example, my ask was that will allow me to live my happiness in addition to make beautiful babies with. How did I know that the babies that we would make are the many businesses or the many different things that Hugo and I are involved in that create, that are out of creation, for example. So babies don't even have to be human babies, and it also, I kind of structured it in the way that, bring me somebody that's like going to be like somebody I'm gaga over, you know what I mean? Obviously, because you want that, you want to be attracted to them, you want that heart attraction. And of course, you want them to be somebody that's appealing to your eyes. So I'm not above that. So of course, Hugo was my man when he was delivered. But the happiness piece, I didn't know what happiness was at the moment. And at that point, I didn't want to touch happiness with a 10-foot pole. I didn't know what to frame happiness to be for myself in the future, because I never went spelunking. Maybe spelunking will make me happy. Who knows? I don't know what happiness is right now. So how can I possibly frame it?
Right.
I just wanted it to manifest in my life.
Right. Well, first of all, I wanted to say I like the way you framed the invitation of finding a partner in your life. Someone who would be present and allow you to continue to experience your own happiness and your own joy. And I think that's an important thing to specify. The fact that you mentioned making babies together, okay, that's beautiful too. But really, what you talked about spelunking too a minute ago.
I did.
Maybe what I need in my life and what I'm ready to invite in my life is a sense of adventure. I want a little more adventure in my life. Now, maybe it'll show up as spelunking. Maybe adventure for me shows up as, who knows, maybe knitting, because it means I have to meet people. And maybe I'm scared of meeting people. I don't know. I mean, the sense of adventure is going to differ from one person to another. But when you put it in that terminology, something a little abstract, a little general, I'm looking for some adventure in my life. Believe me, the universe will provide. And it might not be the adventure you thought it was going to be, but it will be an adventure. In the same sense, if you're looking for love, just say, I am opening my heart to the fulfillment of love in my life. Well, okay, I've done that. Now I've got this beautiful dog who is the most loving being I have ever had in my life. Now, maybe I need to be more specific and talk about the love of a female human. That would be nice, And I know there's lots of female humans that love me too, but I'm talking more specifically about having a partner in my life. So you ask, not in the sense of like you're going to Santa Claus and sitting on his knee and saying, this is what I want for Christmas. But you're asking it from the universe, which is fully capable of providing you whatever you want. And you simply say, I'm ready for this now. And I like the way you did that, Anna. You mentioned that earlier. I am so ready for this. And I think that's important. That's the burning desire part. That, who was it? I can't remember, Kathy, or I can't remember who mentioned that. But that's a beautiful way to approach it. So, yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, we're getting close to the end, and I know you wanted to mention that we have another show coming up, and I can't remember the details of that. Did you want to quickly say that now?
Yeah, actually, let me share the link, because I know that manifesting to me is huge, and I know that Lisa and Don are coming up right after us, and here's the link to their session. But they're talking about quantum manifesting. So if anybody's interested in that, it's a free session, and I was just thinking it would be really lovely to share that session with our audience if people are really now set on manifesting.
Yeah, it's a great continuation on the topic of releasing.
I thought so too.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so Anna, it's been just an awesome pleasure to have you here again. As always, I always love having conversations with you. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience before I close it out?
No, I mean, I just wanted to leave, the audience with a really great conversation, really great inspiration. It's the beginning of a new year. We made it through the last one. Things may not look like it's the same as it's a brand new day, but it is. And there's a lot to look forward to. So I just wanted to, instill as much hope and give you a little direction if you didn't have any plans to give yourself direction for this year. And that's it. So thank you, David. Thank you, everyone who came. I really appreciate everyone showing up. And David, I always love having conversations with you.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's always a pleasure. I just wanted to acknowledge Jenny. She made this beautiful comment that I cannot let pass. I believe it started, she was responding to Ricky, who said, that does work. When I opened my heart, the love walked in, and I had to be open to accept, receive it as well. That was kind of scary, but I was ready. And then Jenny responds, it absolutely did. I am a whole pudding of proof. I love that phrase. That's so beautiful. You have to write that down, and we have to make a meme out of it. There's a pudding.
Here's Duke.
It's been just a blast. What's your cat's name?
Duke.
Duke?
Duke.
Hi, Duke.
A simple name.
What a cute cat.
Yeah, he's lost his patience already.
Well, thank you all for for watching today's program. Remember, you can catch recordings of this and every other episode on my website at lifemasterytv.com. That's life-mastery-tv.com. I truly hope you enjoyed this presentation. In a few hours, you're going to receive an email from the Learn It Live platform. And I'd really appreciate it if you could take some time to write a review about this and any other presentation you attend. And I love 5-star reviews, but I'm open to reviews of any kind as long as it's coming from your heart and it's the truth for you. And finally, I'd like to remind everybody to remember to practice the Life Mastery mantra on a regular basis. It goes like this, and I'll just remind you. I gratefully forgive the imperfect being I have been in the past. I gratefully accept the magnificent being I am right now. I gratefully welcome the evolved being I am becoming in each new moment. So until we meet again, this is David McLeod saying thank you very, very much for being here. I'm your Life Mastery Coach, wishing you love, light, and blessings on your journey. See you next time. Bye-bye.